How's it going, everybody? I know it's been a while since I've done an update on the podcast, what I've been doing. In fact, the last video, I mentioned that I was switching from Anchor over to Megaphone. So I'm going to do an update on this video. And I was thinking about how to do it, like what to talk about. And ultimately, I just decided to do a walkthrough and just kind of update as we go, as if you and I were sitting here and I was showing you the changes. So I'm trying this a little bit more official instead of just using my phone. I've got my screen recorder going here. So hopefully this works well. So this is Anchor. If you've been using Anchor or you're thinking about using Anchor, this is what your home screen is going to look like. It's just, it's got the name of your podcast, place. Now everything except for the money is frozen at this point. Now that I've ported everything over to Megaphone, that's where the updates are happening. So this is kind of frozen in time. So I'll show you. I'll swing over to episodes. You can see the last episode I had on here. 324. So it got to 324 plays, and then that's when I made the shift. And so it's not going to update on here anymore. You can see, actually, you go over to money. Actually, if you go over to your analytics, you can see, where the plays stopped. It still somehow registers a few. I don't know how that's happening, but, it's pretty small. Well, that actually day was pretty big, 531 plays. So I don't know what that is, but, if you go over to your ads, to see the ad revenue, and I'll say this too, if a lot of you have been following along thinking about like what platform you should go on, Anchor's still the best. I mean, unless you're outside the United States and you can't monetize it, then maybe not. It's free. So that's a plus versus some of the others you might have to pay for. But Anchor is the best place to get started. Their interface and how everything works is so much better than Megaphone. So even though I'm switched to Megaphone now and I don't plan on leaving yet, I mean, we'll see once my first payout happens how I feel about it. But the interface, the usability, just the ease of access, Anchor is better. But you can see when I made the switch, kind of the money stopped there from Anchor. You see, go from like 100, this one's 150 plus to 80. So just so you know, if you're using Anchor, how this is going to look is you have your purple line, which is your automated ads. You can see that right there. So like on this day, I made $104 from automated ads, but on my host read ad, which is the, now it's the Spotify for podcasters, it's not Anchor anymore, ad, I made 154. So that day I made $254, which is great. Great day there. But it's so great that you can see this, but I'm going to go ahead and transition over to Megaphone because there's like no information on Megaphone. Like if you try to look on YouTube, at least anything I could find, maybe there's more now. But for the longest time, I could never find anything on Megaphone. And that's why I was hesitant to switch over, because I didn't know much about it other than what they were telling me. And so I was nervous about making that switch and then it not being beneficial. But ultimately, I decided to make the switch. So with Megaphone, money, right? People are always wondering about money. That's a big reason why to get into podcasting, because you can make money doing it, other than, of course, loving the topic that you're talking about and everything. So with Anchor, you get two money-making opportunities. Now, outside of, just regular ads, you can probably make more money with brand deals or sponsorships, or like if Nike, for example, were to pay you to do a host read ad yourself, they're going to pay you more than you're going to make from these ads. So ultimately, if you're building a podcast, finding the niche that works with a brand or something like that, if you're not going to create your own product, is the bigger money, especially when you're not that big. They might be more likely to do a deal with you before you get revenue from this. But so the way this is set up is you have two ways to make money. You have your host read ad, which is Spotify for podcasters. Mine's still technically active, even though it's not playing anymore, 280. And then you have automated ads. So this is where it plays like a Toyota commercial or something. It's just a generic ad. On Megaphone, you only have automated ads. On Megaphone, it's called the Spotify Audience Network, which it's the same thing. That's what Megaphone's owned by Spotify, just like Anchor, or Spotify, by whatever it's called, Spotify by podcast or whatever. But you get submitted here. The barrier to entry for Megaphone, if you're thinking about making a switch, is you have to be getting, I think, 50,000 downloads a week before you can be considered. So this is like a professional version of what Anchor is. But so you have your main page. Now, this is not correct, and this is not correct. And I'll show you when I go over to reports here. When I ported everything over, this first week was nuts. Like, that's not how many downloads I had. Like I said, and on March 12th, I had 72,000 downloads. Unfortunately, my podcast isn't that big. I wish it was, but it's not. One day. So I think up until probably the 17th, these numbers were just, I think it was pulling in stuff from Anchor and everything, so it wasn't accurate. Now it's getting a little bit more accurate. So you can see here, like yesterday. So today is the 24th, so this one's still updating. But as of 9:30 p.m., I'm at 19,000 downloads, 20,000 downloads, 22,000 downloads, 21,000 downloads, 19,000 downloads. So that's more accurate. But you get like really cool indicators on how each episode does. You've got this. There's impressions here. So, like on this one where I was on the money page, let's swing over to home. Figure out how to get back over there. There it went. Actually, it's analytics, ads. So this is live, right? This is where I'm saying the Anchor is still better. This is live. It's updating basically within a few days versus this has not updated once. And when I was making the transition over, they said that it updates like monthly. So this won't update till the end of March. And then hopefully at some point in April, I'll be able to see what I did. So that's the fear, right? That's why I waited so long to switch, because I didn't want to switch over and then make less money. But they do pay more per, like their what is it called here? So just so we can compare. So you have your RPM is what they call it. Yeah. So that's just basically the revenue earned per 1,000 ad listens on your episode. So $13 on Spotify and $10 on all other platforms. Now, again, Anchor's free, so they got to be making money somehow. This is one of the ways they're making money here is they're taking a pretty hefty piece of this on Megaphone, and it could be different for everybody, but and it probably depends on your niche, like who you're reaching out to. Some niches probably pay better than others. Like, for instance, if you're doing like a children's type thing with like children's books, things like that, it's probably not going to pay that much, because if you're doing like stories for kids, then it knows that kids are listening to it. The ads are not very valuable because you're not going to sell something. But if you're doing like finance and you're talking about something that would pay well with finance, an advertiser might pay more for that spot so you can make more, but their average is 25. So that's ultimately why I made the switch, because that's going to double basically what I was making. As long as I get as many impressions as I was getting before, like if I get at least the same, it'll almost double, because I was probably getting around 11 if you average these two together, maybe 12, and then to go to 25, that'd be great. Now, of course, actually, let's see. Yeah, this one was paying a little bit higher at 15, and then so this was paying 15 on, I believe, Spotify, and then 12 on others. Problem is, this never played on Spotify. It only played on others. So you were getting the 12 pretty much, or at least for me, I was getting the 12. So it's going to double it if I get the same amount of downloads. Hopefully I do. So opportunity-wise, Megaphone, much better. You do have to pay, though, to be on Megaphone. So it probably varies per individual, but I'm paying $250 a month to be on here. Plus, if you get over a certain amount of downloads, which I will, which is a good thing, you want those downloads, you pay per X amount of downloads. So it'll probably cost me like $350 a month to be on Megaphone. So if I make double the money, it's worth it. If I only make $300 more, then it's not, because I'd rather just be for free and not have the stress of like having that payment come out each month. So we'll see. You do, I guess, commit to a contract with Megaphone as well. So I don't know what I would do if I wanted to get out of it. I guess I could just not pay it and switch back to Anchor. But hopefully everything works out. So this is kind of the outlay. Again, the main thing is you have your dashboard, has your so one thing that's really cool about this is you can have multiple podcasts. So like I have my podcast here, but I could create another one and I could have 10 different podcasts on here. If you're a podcast manager, like if you want to manage other people's podcasts, they can, if they're using this, which is the professional dashboard, they would get access on this. So it's all really, really cool stuff. Let me know what questions you have. Again, I know there's not a lot of content like this on Megaphone, really on Anchor either. There's just not that much, but it's been a while since I made a video, so I figured I'd do the update. I guess one thing while this is going, I'll show you that is pretty interesting is, let's swing over here. So this is my Spotify, like logging into my podcast or Spotify account. So this is not the Anchor account. But if I go to my catalog and I click on my podcast, look at this weird change. So I switched over right here. This is when I switched, I think it was the 13th. I switched over to Anchor, or from Anchor then. This week was kind of normal. So this top part is starts. That means someone started your podcast. The bottom part is streams. So that means somebody listened more than 60 seconds. Look at this crazy jump the second week. So like, it's like 20,000 starts, but the streams are the same. So something weird is going on. There's no way that just all of a sudden that many people starting my podcast and not listening. When if you look at the trend forever, it's been almost the same, whether that's 20% or so. It's been that every single day. Like there's no gap in that. It's been that. I mean, I'm doing 90 days here, but if I go to like all time, that gap is always that. And then it just shot up. So more to come on that. There's definitely something going on. I don't know. It's probably not a problem. I just am thinking these numbers probably aren't as official. I mean, as it used to be. Listeners somehow are showing up way higher. So I don't know. Again, this is just Spotify, so it's not like it's reaching out somewhere else. I looked at the followers, so if you look at your follower count, and so you look at, the jumps, it's not any higher. So everything else happened to be the same except for these two. Something weird about that. So more details to come, but ultimately the switch has been good. They have a really good chat feature. So pretty much unless you're messaging them at midnight on a Sunday, they're working at different places in the world. There's somebody that can answer, and that's very helpful if you have a question and stuff. The reporting, I'm getting used to it. Not as in depth as Anchor yet, but I think you can create reports, and that's what I got to spend time doing. So if you want like specific reports, you can do that. And then of course, you can get into promos and campaigns, and like there's just so much more you can do. So like for instance, say you're going to do a promo with Coca-Cola. And it was only going to be in like a specific market. Or here's a better example. You have a podcast, and there's a local business in your area, and they want to buy an ad on your podcast. Well, it wouldn't make sense for them to buy a national ad that plays across the world, or at least the country, because they're only right there unless they sell online. With this, and I haven't figured out how to do it. I don't know if you create there, but you can essentially make your ad only play in an area you want. So you could make it to where it only plays in Atlanta, Georgia, or LA, like wherever you want it. It could only play in there. So you could offer somebody, really niche advertising, which you could charge more for, because if you're doing a podcast, you're generally considered like an expert in the space. So that's really helpful, I think, as well. Let's see here. The other thing that I thought was interesting. So let me show you this too. If we go over to podcast and I go to my podcast, this is how you put the ads in, which is pretty cool. So for instance, we'll go here, we'll click this one, and then you go to edit episode, and then there's ad locator. So when you put this in here, you just throw your ad right in here where you want it. You just click the spot you want it to go. You just click on here and boom, there's your ad. You can put as many as you want. So like I could put it that, that many ads play there. 4. Now 4 probably wouldn't, just because I don't think I would have that high of a fill rate. That would be pretty impressive. You'd have to be a pretty well-known show, I think, to get that. But it's cool that that feature's there, so you could set however many you want. They're 30-second ads. So, you can, if you did 2, that'd only be a minute. And if you think about it, the ad that you do for them, the host read ad, is probably a minute. So you could make $50 per 1,000, doubling up those 2 ad spots, or just make, maybe $16. So that for 1,000, that's not a big difference, but you times that by 2, then you're at 100 versus 32. Then you double that, 4,000 downloads, and you're at 200 versus 60, right? That number just starts going up and up and up. So I'm really looking forward to whenever that money will come in. And I'm thinking if it's anything like this one, I'll know by the end of April, kind of, is this working or not? So you see, I do still have a little bit of money here. That's from the automated ads in the past. So it'll be nice that I'll get them. I actually just had a good payout from that today. So that was good to see. So that's the update. I know this wasn't too official, but I just figured we'd roll through it. And again, I don't think there's a single video about Megaphone on the internet. And it's probably because it's where professionals are, right? A lot of people, if you're like a real professional podcaster, you're not making content like this. You're doing like your profession, and you're not showcasing this. That would be my guess as to why, versus even Anchor, but that's still entry level. So there's more, people talking about that. But most of the videos you're going to see are the podcasts, like there's the entry level ones like Podbean and all those, which are good. You can be professional on there. But they don't have the audience network that Spotify put together. So that's what makes this one very valuable. So if you have any questions, put them below. It's been a great week. I have gotten more downloads, which is, I don't know if that's just coincidence or not, but this week I will probably get about, my best week, I think, was 120,000 downloads in a week. And then it went down for the past like 3 weeks. It'd been probably like 106, 107, which is normal. I have like a peak, peaks and valleys. But this week it's looking like if it, the trend continues, I might hit like 130, 140 thousand downloads, which would be excellent. The goal is to get to 1 million downloads a week. Just because, I enjoy my podcast, and the thought of people like 1 million, I know it wouldn't be individual people because there's unique listeners and then like people that listen to it multiple times. But if like your message is heard 1 million times a week, that's just like mind blowing. So that's kind of the goal of it. And I'd be 100% doing it full time at that point. So that'd be cool. So anyway, drop your questions below. I'll try to answer them, and hopefully it won't be quite as long between the next video.